3 weeks ago, I died. At least that's what everyone who knew me online believed. But I'm very much alive, sitting in my car outside my childhood home in Plano, Texas, about to have the conversation that will either destroy my family or finally set me free. For 5 years, I've been living two completely different lives, and it all came crashing down in the most spectacular way possible. If you've ever wondered how far someone will go to avoid being their authentic self, stick around, because this story is about to get wild. And if you're new here, smash that subscribe button, because I'm about to tell you the most insane true story you'll hear all week. My name is Tyler Brooks, and I'm 27 years old. To my family, I'm the perfect son. Finance degree from Baylor, steady job at a Dallas investment firm, regular church attendance, the works. To my parents, Robert and Susan Brooks, I'm their pride and joy. The kid who never gave them trouble, never questioned their values, never strayed from the path they laid out for me. But for the past 5 years, I've also been someone else entirely. Someone my family would disown if they ever found out. It started innocently enough in November 2019. I was 22, fresh out of college, working 60-hour weeks at this soul-crushing investment firm where I spent my days convincing rich people to get richer. I was living in this beige apartment in Richardson, driving a beige car, wearing beige suits, living the most beige existence you can imagine. One night, I was scrolling through Amazon. You know how it is when you can't sleep and you're just mindlessly shopping, and I saw this gaming laptop on sale. In my family, video games were basically the devil's playground. But something about that sleek black machine called to me. Maybe it was the rebellion. Maybe it was the escape, but I bought it. When it arrived, I told my roommate Jake it was for work spreadsheets. When my mom asked about it during our weekly family dinner, I said it was for financial modeling. The lies came so easily I should have known I was in trouble. The first game I downloaded was Mystic Realms, this massive online fantasy world, where you could be anyone, do anything, go anywhere. I created a character called Damon Cross, dark hair, leather jacket, motorcycle, everything I wasn't allowed to be in real life. For the first time in my adult life, I felt free. That's where I met Luna. Her real name was Sophia Martinez, and she lived in Seattle. She was a graphic designer, had tattoos running up her arms, played guitar in an indie rock band called Midnight Static. She was everything my parents had taught me to avoid, and everything I secretly wanted. We started chatting in the game, then moved to Discord voice calls that would last until sunrise. She knew everything about Damon Cross, his dreams of being a musician, his thoughts on art and philosophy, his plans to travel the world. But she thought Tyler Brooks was just some boring day job I had to tolerate to pay rent.
You're different from other guys I meet online.
She told me one night in early 2020.
You actually have depth. You think about meaningful things. You're not just another corporate drone pretending to have a personality.
If only she knew. COVID made everything more intense. Suddenly, everyone was living online. So my digital relationship felt normal instead of pathetic. Sophia and I talked every single day. We watched movies together, played games together, shared our deepest fears and biggest dreams. Meanwhile, my real life was suffocating me. My parents were calling constantly, worried about my isolation. My sister Emma kept trying to set me up with nice Christian girls from church. My coworkers on Zoom were asking when I'd start dating seriously. Buy a house, settle down like a responsible adult. But every night, I'd put on my black hoodie, hidden in the back of my closet, like contraband, and become Damon Cross. With Sophia, I could talk about music and art and philosophy. I could question religion and society and family expectations. I could be authentic, or so I thought. The lies got complicated fast. When Sophia wanted to video chat during the day, I told her I worked for a government defense contractor where cameras weren't allowed. When she wanted to send care packages, I rented a P.O. box across town. When she asked about my family, I said we were estranged because they couldn't accept my lifestyle choices. That last part felt true, which made it easier to say. By 2022, I was living two completely separate existences. Days were Navy suits, client meetings, church services, family dinners, where I nodded along to conversations about Christian values and the importance of settling down. Nights were ripped jeans, gaming headsets, and hours of conversation with someone who loved me for thoughts I wasn't supposed to have. I had different social media accounts, different email addresses, even different phone numbers. I researched Seattle neighborhoods so I could talk intelligently about where I supposedly wanted to move. I learned about indie music and art galleries, so I could be the kind of person Sophia would want to date. The scariest part was how good I got at it. In March 2023, everything almost imploded. Sophia surprised me by booking a flight to Dallas for my birthday. She wanted to finally meet in person, take our relationship to the next level. I had a full panic attack in my office restroom. My assistant found me hyperventilating and wanted to call 911. I told Sophia I'd been suddenly transferred to a project in Houston and wouldn't be available that weekend. She was disappointed but understanding. She was always understanding. which somehow made the lying worse. That's when I realized I had two choices: come clean about everything, or find a way to end things without destroying her image of who she thought I was. I chose the coward's way out. By late 2023, Sophia and I had been together for almost 4 years. 4 years of daily conversations, shared dreams, emotional intimacy deeper than anything I'd experienced with another human being. She started talking about marriage. Not pressuring, just casual mentions of our future together. Elopement in Vegas, a small ceremony in the mountains. Maybe just a courthouse with a few friends. I wanted that future more than I'd ever wanted anything. But I also knew that the moment she met the real Tyler Brooks, the guy in khakis, who said grace before meals and worked in wealth management, she'd realized she'd been in love with a complete fiction. So I made the most psychotic decision of my life. I decided to fake my own death. In January 2024, I orchestrated an elaborate car accident story. I had my college friend Derek, who knew nothing about Sophia, send her a message from my account, saying Damon had been killed in a crash on I-35 during an ice storm. I even found a real news article about a multi-car pileup that week and included the link. I watched her grieve for me. I watched her post tributes on Instagram about losing her soulmate. I watched her bandmates comfort her at a memorial service she organized in Seattle. A service for someone who never existed, mourning someone who was sitting in his Richardson apartment hating himself. Part of me was relieved. The exhausting double life could finally end. Tyler Brooks could go back to normal, and Damon Cross could fade into digital obscurity. Except I couldn't go back to normal. I'd had a taste of being truly known and loved, and everything else felt like suffocation. For 6 months, I tried to pretend nothing had happened. I threw myself into work, started dating women my sister set me up with, and went to church more regularly. I deleted all my gaming accounts, sold my laptop, and tried to convince myself it had all been temporary insanity. But you can't delete 4 years of your life. You can't pretend the most real relationship you've ever had was just a phase. I was miserable. And then last month, the universe decided to destroy me completely. I was at a company retreat in Austin, one of those mandatory team-building disasters, where everyone pretends corporate synergy matters. We were at this trendy restaurant downtown, and I was making small talk with colleagues about weekend plans, when I heard a voice that stopped my heart.
Tyler? Tyler Brooks from Plano?
I turned around, and there she was, Sophia, standing 10 feet away in ripped jeans and a band t-shirt, staring at me, like she'd seen a ghost. Because she had. She'd moved to Austin 6 months earlier. Something about needing a fresh start after losing her boyfriend, wanting to try living in Texas, since it was the last place we talked about visiting together. The cosmic joke was complete. For about 15 seconds, we just stared at each other. My coworkers were looking confused. Linda from HR was asking if I knew her. And Sophia was standing there with tears streaming down her face, whispering, "You're alive," over and over. I told my colleagues it was mistaken identity. I said she must have confused me with someone else. I watched this woman who had loved me for 4 years, who had grieved my death, who had rearranged her entire life around my memory. And I told her she was wrong about who I was. She said one word before walking away: coward. She was absolutely right. I couldn't sleep for 3 days. Couldn't eat, couldn't focus at work, couldn't pretend everything was fine. So I did what I should have done years ago. I messaged her on Instagram, asking if we could talk. She agreed to meet at a coffee shop called Radio Coffee in downtown Austin. Public place, safe territory. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting with her back to the wall like she was expecting trouble. She looked older, tired, like she'd been carrying weight. That wasn't hers to bear. I sat down and said the only thing I could: "I am sorry." She stared at me for the longest minute of my life before speaking.
Who are you?
So I told her everything. The real Tyler Brooks from Plano, the investment firm, the Baptist family, the fake identity I'd created because I was too scared to live authentically. I told her about the gaming laptop, about Damon Cross, about faking my death, because I couldn't handle letting her meet the real me. When I finished, she was quiet for so long, I thought she might just leave. Finally, she said something that destroyed me.
The person I fell in love with, does he exist at all?
I tried to explain that the feelings were real, that everything I'd shared about my thoughts and dreams and fears was genuine, just attached to the wrong identity. She laughed bitterly.
So for 4 years, I was dating your personality but in love with your avatar? The man I grieved for never actually existed?
Then she told me her side. After my death, she'd gone into therapy for grief and depression. She'd quit her band because music reminded her of our conversations. She'd stopped dating because she thought she'd already found her person and lost him. She'd kept a shrine in her apartment, screenshots of our conversations, photos of Damon's character, mementos from our digital relationship. Her friends were worried. Her family was begging her to move on. But she couldn't because she was in love with a dead man.
I moved to Austin because this was supposed to be our city. You used to talk about exploring South by Southwest together, trying food trucks, hiking at Zilker Park. I came here to feel closer to your memory. And instead, I found out everything was a lie.
She started crying, not sad crying, but angry. Crying, the kind that comes from betrayal so deep your body doesn't know how else to respond.
I mourned you for 6 months. I couldn't listen to music or create art because everything reminded me of you. And you were here the whole time, living your corporate life, probably dating other people, definitely not thinking about the woman in Seattle whose heart you destroyed.
But then she said something that gutted me completely.
The worst part isn't that you lied about who you were. It's that I can tell you're still lying.
I asked what she meant, and she looked at me with pure disgust.
You're sitting here in your business casual uniform, using your polite, corporate voice, talking about your family and job like they define you. But that's not who you were with me. With me, you had opinions about art and music and meaning. You questioned everything. You were passionate and real. So either that person was completely fake or this person is, and I don't know which would be worse.
That hit me like a freight train. She was right. I hadn't just been lying to her, I'd been lying to myself. I'd created Damon Cross as the person I wished I could be. All those conversations about philosophy and art and authenticity, they came from real parts of myself that I'd buried under years of trying to be the perfect son. The Tyler Brooks who went to church and wore suits and talked about investment portfolios. That was the performance. Damon wasn't my fake identity. He was my real one, suffocated under decades of other people's expectations. I tried to explain this, but she wasn't having it.
You had 4 years to figure that out. Instead, you chose to fake your death rather than have an honest conversation. That tells me everything about your character.
She started to leave and I panicked. I grabbed her arm and said something incredibly stupid. What if I could be that person now? What if I quit my job and moved to Seattle and became who you fell in love with? The look she gave me was pure contempt.
You still don't get it. I didn't fall in love with your location or career goals. I fell in love with your honesty, your vulnerability, your willingness to share real thoughts and feelings. And you've proven that none of those things are actually part of who you are.
Then she delivered the killing blow.
I loved Damon. I could have even loved Tyler if he'd been honest about who he was. But I will never love someone who lies to me for 4 years and then expects gratitude when he finally decides to tell the truth.
That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, my life has completely imploded. My sister Emma somehow found Sophia's Instagram and saw all the posts about grieving for her boyfriend Tyler, who died in a car accident. Emma confronted me, and I couldn't lie anymore. I told her everything.
I don't even know who you are. The brother I grew up with had integrity. This person, I don't recognize this person.
She's threatening to tell our parents. Says they deserve to know. Their son has been living a double life for 5 years. And you know what? She's right. They do deserve to know. So here I am, sitting outside their house, about to walk in and destroy their image of their perfect son. I'm going to tell them about the gaming, about Sophia, about faking my death, about the fact that their devout Christian son has been questioning everything they taught him. I don't know how they'll react. They might disown me. They might be devastated. But at least they'll finally know who I actually am. I also wrote a letter to Sophia, not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. Just apologizing properly. Telling her that everything I shared about my thoughts and dreams was real, even if the identity wasn't. I probably won't send it. The kindest thing I can do is disappear from her life and let her heal. Here's what I've learned. Authenticity isn't something you achieve once. It's something you choose every single day. For 5 years, I chose comfort over authenticity. I chose approval over integrity. I chose the safety of lies over the risk of being truly known. And it cost me everything that mattered. If you're watching this and hiding parts of yourself to fit in, learn from my disaster. The people meant to be in your life will love you for who you really are. The people who can't handle your authenticity aren't your people anyway. Don't wait until you've destroyed someone. You love to start being honest about who you are? I'm done lying. To Sophia, to my family, to myself. I'm done pretending I can make everyone happy by being whoever they need me to be. Yesterday, I quit my job. Tomorrow, after I tell my parents everything, I'm moving somewhere new and figuring out who Tyler Brooks actually is when he's not performing for anyone. I might go back to school for something that interests me. Instead of something that pays well, I might travel, create art, learn music, all the things Damon dreamed about. But Tyler never had the courage to try. What I won't do is create another fake identity. What I won't do is lie to another person about who I am, because I'm afraid they won't like the real me. Because here's the truth. Being alone and authentic is better than being connected and fake. Real connection requires real vulnerability. And real vulnerability requires the courage to risk rejection. So let me ask you, are you being honest about who you are? With your family, friends, romantic partners, yourself? Or are you playing a role because it's safer than risking authentic connection? Start small. Share one real thought instead of what you think people want to hear. Try one hobby that actually interests you. Have one honest conversation about something that matters. Because authenticity isn't about being perfect. It's about being real. I robbed Sophia of the chance to love the real me. I robbed myself of the chance to be truly known. Don't make my mistake. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. If you've ever felt trapped between who you are and who others expect you to be. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories from people brave enough to share their truth. All right, time to go have the hardest conversation of my life. Wish me luck. Thanks for listening to my side of the story.